Is the private sector a popular choice for talented engineers? What unique opportunities does it offer that appeal to them?
They go for premium companies in the private sector. The important thing is that initiative has been taken by those companies that they come for campuses, and before even the student appears for final exam, they already select and offer a package. Okay. Now it becomes very difficult to resist that at that point in time, because there was a joblessness some 20, 30 years back. So when they start getting offers in campus, they get tempted to pick whatever best comes their way. People do rise very fast in private sector. Those who perform well, they have superlative growth. Other reason is, for government jobs anyway, they have to wait for couple of years at least before they even know that they have made it or not. Now they can't carry on that suspense for 2 years, so they take whatever best comes their way. But those who do MBA, many MBA institutions have a precondition that they should have a work experience of 2 years or 4 years or 5 years. So they join a company which is visible in corporate world, and they take an assignment for 2 years, 5 years, while they prepare themselves for these kind of exams. Other thing is that these companies nowadays, when they come for campus, particularly the IT companies, they recruit en masse. So that's another factor, because everybody else is doing, so you also do. As a student, suppose you want to learn some software, for example, or some technology. Not that trainings are not available in training institutions, but one has to pay through the nose to get those trainings. Whereas if somebody joins a big company, you learn at the cost of the company, and you have access to the best possible software, hardware, technology, resources, capital resources, human resources. So you get the best possible exposure at somebody else's cost. So that becomes a very attractive factor.
Why do we see job hopping among the high flyers?
Each company has its own tall hierarchy. And however fast the rise may be, it is still, considering the hierarchy, the height of hierarchy, hmm, it still becomes very difficult to foresee that one can rise to the top, growing at the rate at which one can see people growing. So then people become jittery, and they try to haggle a promotion every time they switch the job. They try to get a hefty increment every time they switch the job. So that is one reason why they do it. And they go for career which is common to many industries. For example, marketing. A marketing man is a marketing man, so he can work for any kind of products. So he can join any company virtually, right? So they find that navigating this change of job gives a faster rise to the top. I'll give you a story, okay, to illustrate what I mean. The story is that one boss, quite senior boss, was sacked from a company or was removed from a company for so-called underperformance, etc. And his successor was talking to him, a new incumbent from another company who had joined there. So he said, boss, whatever said and done, I know what is going on behind all this, some organizational dynamics, etc. But you please advise me. You have survived in this organization for almost 20 years. Now you give me some tips of how to survive this place. So the fellow says, okay, I will give you three advices in three envelopes with a serial number 1, 2, 3 written on that envelope. These are sealed envelope. When you are totally stuck in a crisis, you open these envelope one by one in that order. So first envelope number 1, take that advice. Next you open envelope number 2, take that advice. And third is the final advice. So I give you three advice in three envelopes. You keep in your drawer, but to be opened only when you desperately need, not otherwise. And not all at a time, only one by one in the same order. So the fellow said, fine. So the fellow kept his predecessor's advice in his drawer, and 1 year passes. He was new, so he did not fail much crisis. The crisis came when there was a performance review next year. Because the performance, instead of improving, had deteriorated as compared to what his predecessor did. So he did not know how to face the board in the meeting, the performance appraisal meeting. So he was nervous and he did not know what to do now, how to face the meeting. So he takes out the envelope number one and reads the advice. The envelope one had just one line of advice, and that one line was very short and crisp: blame it on me. So the fellow was intelligent and sharp, so he understood what that advice meant. So when the meeting happened, he blamed all the underperformance on its predecessor, and he said it was such a mess when I took over. It will take me some time to correct all those mistakes which have happened in the past. And he survives that meeting based on that argument. So fine. Now one more year passes. Next year again similar situation comes. The performance, actual performance further deteriorates. And now he doesn't know what he should say because he has already blamed the predecessor once, and now he has been there for 2 years. So the onus lies on him to show the performance. So he takes out the second envelope. The second envelope had similar three words: we are on right track. Only so much. Now he understood what it means. So in the meeting, he said, yes, sir, we are on the right track. We are following the right strategy. There are some mixed results already. And it will take some time, but it will happen. We can be rest assured it will happen. We are on the right track. So he gets away with this and fine. He survives that meeting also. Then comes the third year, similar situation, performance appraisal meeting. The performance had gone further down, and the fellow is clueless now what he should say. So he takes out the final envelope, and the final envelope says, oh, you are still there. You should have left long back. Okay. So this story illustrates why people may change jobs frequently, because they join an organization with lot of promise. They accept very tall targets, impossible seeming targets, and then this is what happens. So sometimes they are able to buy like this. After some time comes a time that they have to quit because their bluff can be caught. So before that happens, they have to switch the job. So that's another reason that such, so in some positions such job hopping is common. But of course now industry is getting intelligent. They are able to see through all these things. All these cases are well known in industry by now, so people can see through all this now.
Are engineering graduates truly prepared to tackle industry jobs right out of college? What gaps might exist in their training?
Well, only 20% of engineering graduates are readily employable. 80% are not. And generally, while somebody is studying as a student, there are perceptions and there are, of course, cultural factors and family background factors. For example, somebody who has been a bookworm, a topper, is considered a great achiever in the student days. But when they come for the interview, so once a bright boy who has been topper throughout and a topper in a premium institution like IIT, he goes for an interview. And in interview, the HR man asks him, have you ever failed? Suddenly that question comes. The fellow is flabbergasted. He did not expect this question to him. Sir, what are you talking? I have been a topper throughout and I'm topper from such a big prestigious institution. The interviewer said, then you are not fit for the job. The fellow was taken aback. He asked, sir, why? Why do you say so? Because who could be better than me in this? The interviewer explained him. He said, look, dear, we are into business. And when you join here, you will be dealing with contracts. Sometimes you win the contract, sometimes you lose the contract. That's in the game. So we want somebody who knows how to handle defeat. It's a game. Some you win, some others will win. Practically, that is what happens in business. But you say you have never failed, so you don't know what the failure is. But in our case, there will be 50% failure. How will you deal with those failures? You are not equipped. So this is one example that academic excellence and what is required in actual job, this is a mismatch. There is another story of interview. A young middle class boy from a decent family, conventional family, is sitting for the interview, and a street smart HR guy asks him, "क्यों रे तू दारू पीता है?" The fellow says, "What are you talking? I am a good boy from a good family." Then he said, "Okay, cigarette पीता है?" Sir, what are you talking? We don't touch cigarette. The HR guy says, "Then you are not fit for the job." So the fellow asks, "Sir, why? I am such a good boy and you are saying I am not fit for your job." HR wala says that, "Do you realize what would be your job when you join? Your job is to go to offices, government offices mostly, liaison with them, get information from those offices. Do you think like a good boy if you go to a government office, stand in front of the desk of a clerk for half an hour, he will even look at you? No, he will not look at you. So how will you get information?" So the boy asks, "Sir, then how do people get information?" He says, "It is very simple. Those people, those clerks, are habitual of coming out and standing in a veranda after every half an hour or 1 hour. So you don't go into the office, you stand in the veranda, and when the fellow comes out, you offer him a cigarette. 90% of those people are smokers. And actually, they come out because they want to have a smoke. So once you offer him a cigarette, he will not refuse. And once he is smoking, he will have to stand in veranda with you, and that time you can talk to him. But if you don't smoke, how will you offer him cigarette? And ideally, you should light it with your cigarette. I mean, that is, promoting some kind of brotherhood. Yeah. With all ill effects of smoking, of course. But this is the practical thing. This is how it goes. And suppose he gives you the information. And what kind of information? You don't expect that he will tell you the tender value, etc. for a cigarette. He will only tell you कि भाई बॉस कहाँ मिलता है शाम को. Because information that you want will come from the boss. The clerk will not know that information. He can only guide you कि भाई how you can tackle the boss. Now, your turn to meet the boss. Now, suppose you happen to meet the boss in a restaurant. You invite him for a coffee. He may even oblige and come and sit with you. But then he will finish the coffee in 5 minutes and you would not have even started the conversation that you want. Whereas if you keep a bottle of beer, he will sit with you for half an hour and then you can talk. So it's to ease the communication. These things are meant for easing the communication. I'm not saying that you get the contract because of these things. But this is a way to ease the communication. And we want to take you as a licensing officer, and you say you don't do these things. Yeah. So these are the gaps. What is the actual job requirement? There is nothing good, nothing bad. It is a job requirement. This is a job requirement. You consider it bad, so you don't come here. If you can do it, you are welcome.
And engineering doesn't teach you that.
Engineering doesn't teach you that. But in actual world, this is what is required as a professional. Actually, in shop floor, we don't need an academic gray hair person. We need a street smart person who can bully people and make them to work. Now, are you able to do that? So there is a gap in what bright boys will perceive to be a great achievement versus what industry will perceive to be a great material for their job. Sorry for saying that word material, but it is a, so they will see the new incumbent as a great material for that particular assignment.
What are the key factors that contribute to professional growth in a corporate career? How can individuals maximize their development?
Well, promotions and rewards in corporate world come in three ways. One is by queue, by seniority. So if you are senior, you get it. If your turn comes, you get it. So there is another mechanism of promotion, which is, say, promotion by default. By default meaning what? Suppose there are three fellows who are to be considered for promotion. The first fellow has had a fight with the boss, so he will not be promoted. The second fellow, his face resembles his boss's mother-in-law, so he will not get promoted. Third one automatically gets promoted. That's promotion by default. The third category is promotion by blackmail, which is most prevalent. Now, blackmail can be a positive blackmail and blackmail can be a negative blackmail. Negative blackmail is that the fellow has been working with his boss. Now, being human, his boss would have made mistakes, mistakes which are embarrassing and damaging for his career also. Now, if this fellow has been observing and keeping quiet for years, covering up those mistakes done by the boss, at the nick of the time when promotion is due, in a veiled manner, he can threaten the boss. Boss, bata dunga. Boss says, chup bet, le le. Okay. So that is promotion by blackmail. But for that to happen, boss should have a weakness. He should be scared of, and this fellow should be able to encash on it. The other category of blackmail, which is the positive blackmail, is you make your boss and organization totally dependent on you through your performance. So if you are there, you make a difference. If you are not there, people feel your absence. And at the nick of time, you threaten to quit. Boss will say, okay, let me do something for you. Don't be in a hurry. And then he will do something for you. Now, that is the positive blackmail. There is a flip side, however. The flip side is if your boss is intelligent, probably he could be doing the same thing for himself. That is, he may be projecting a scenario where he is indispensable, in which case he would be carrying all the keys, he would be micromanaging you, he would not let you develop. Hmm? So then it becomes a tricky situation. So these are the way in which generally reward and promotions will happen. Not all jobs are created equal in corporate world. There are people who get credit easily and there are people who are denied credit. So one has to be very careful in choosing a career in corporate world, because all these factors will eventually affect your career growth, eventual career growth. And there are cases where informers are rated better than performers. Now, if one is stuck in such a situation, and you have to make a change before too long, before the career suffers a lot. So that is the flip side.
What upsides and downsides should one consider before joining a small private company? How do these factors influence professional growth?
It's a good question, because so far whatever I have spoken was assuming that it is a fairly large organization, mostly with the cadre based recruitment. MSMEs in smaller companies, these things do not happen. The roles are clear cut, they are defined before somebody is recruited, and the person is expected to start delivering from day one. There is no time for training and development. So they look for somebody who will be a straight fit, a perfect fit. Okay. So the selection process is that much more stringent. And in a smaller organization, the responsibility level is much bigger. The working hours are much bigger. Of course, your work life balance may suffer because your job definition is slightly, they may call you anything, but basically you have to do everything. Now, I remember once I have seen one interview with a small organization. The interviewer told that, okay, so you want to join as general manager design? I said, yes. Now, okay, we can give you whatever designation you ask for. That's not a problem. But basically, you have to do everything. Now, you tell me what kind of past experience you have in handling human resources. Have you recruited boys from campus? Now, this is something which incumbent for designer would have never got exposed to. Then they will ask what kind of background you have about the finances, because here you have to handle finances as well. So basically, irrespective of what designation we give you have to do everything. So you have to know everything. Now that is a very tall demand for somebody who is switching over from a bigger organization to a smaller organization. It's almost impossible to satisfy this kind of requirement. So for a fresh student, of course, they can be taken, and it's like throwing them in swimming pool. They learn on their own. They are supposed to learn on their own because there's nobody to train them. The companies do not have wherewithal to do training and development, and they don't have any experts to train the new incumbent. The flip side is, however, in some very small organization where the money inflow itself is throttled, there are cases where people do not get salaries regularly. Sometimes they may not get salary even for 6 months. So one has to be watchful of selecting organization where the financial situation is so volatile that this can happen. Okay, but otherwise in MSMEs it gives you a very wide exposure. In bigger organization, you will be a very small cog in a very big wheel. For example, suppose you are joining a small, let us say a finance function. You will be doing a very small part of the domain of finance, only accounting maybe, only payroll, but you don't know what is the world beyond all that. But in a smaller organization, you get exposed to the complete business financing scenario, like how corporate financing works, how corporate planning works, what kind of tax structure is there. You get exposed to many, many things. It's a challenging job, but it comes with due reward also if you do well, really. So your own drive, your own creativity, your own passion is what will see you through.
How should career aspirants approach selecting the right job in the industry?
They have a wide range of choice. If they want, they can become expert. If they want, they can become a generalist manager. They can have vertical rise, they can have horizontal spread, both. Usually bigger organizations have a lot of variety of jobs to choose for. And if one is getting selected through campus and as en masse recruitment drive in the GT scheme, etc., you have a wide range of choices available generally for picking and choosing the kind of career one wants. Of course, in MSME, it is against one particular position that recruitment is done, so there is hardly any choice. But in bigger organizations and public sectors, there will be a wide choice available. Now, the domains that one can choose is maybe R&D, design, design and development. There could be production. There could be quality control or quality management is a better word nowadays. Maintenance, okay, or techno-commercial job like materials management or purchase or vendor development, etc. Or things like corporate planning, maybe, right? Or there could be some other kind of services, like somebody can become a safety champion or an auditor or something, yeah, other services. So there is a big range of career profiles to choose from. Now, considering the depth and spread of the topics that are there under this umbrella, in our subsequent video, we will be covering all these domains one by one. So, in one video, we will be covering about the pros and cons of taking a career as a design, in the design and software side. In another one, we may talk about the production managers. Third one, we may talk about maintenance. Fourth, about quality. Then about marketing. Then about techno-commercial, that is materials manager, etc. Stores manager, etc. Then about other services like auditor, safety champion, productivity champion, etc. So we'll be covering all these in subsequent few videos which are forthcoming. Watch out for them. Till then, bye bye.